All right. Howdy, everyone. So, this is impromptu. I just decided to jump on. Somebody is asking, do I feel nostalgic today? Well, do you, punk? Excuse me. So, the answer to that was going to be no. But I will tell everybody what I was doing and how that day transpired for me. That I had enrolled in flight school, actually, and was getting college credits for it in the Tucson area. And I had been working out, getting in shape. Sometimes I would ride my bicycle to school. It's a road bike, a Bianchi, Campione d'Italia. It's a nice bike. And every other day I would ride it a few miles from my house up to Fort Lowell Park. In Fort Lowell Park, I would lock my bicycle up, and then they had a 2.5 or 2.25 mile exercise course where you go to a station and it says, stretch like this, and then you go to another station and says stretch like that, and then you work your way around. It has you do all these calisthenics, and works you out pretty good over 2.5 miles. And anyways, I went up there weekday, Tuesday morning, nice sunny, shiny day. And excuse me, this is well before anybody here in Arizona was going to work. So it takes about an hour or so to do that course. And I did the course and get on the bike and started riding my bicycle home, looking around at traffic, and I was like, wow, this is like Sunday morning traffic, early Sunday morning traffic. There's no cars, very few. I thought this is really strange, but it's kind of pleasant. Don't have to worry about getting knocked off the road and having someone in a car pop my head with their tire. So I get back to my house, and as I'm putting everything away, I look, and there's a message on the answering machine. So I press the message, and it's a message from my mom, who at the time was living in Kentucky. And she said, "Are you watching this? Oh my God, I think I'm going to be sick." So, that's interesting. So I pick up the phone to call her back. And as I'm doing that, I'm turning on the television. And as I'm turning on the television, of course, at that juncture in time, it was minutes after the second plane hit. I said, "Oh, what's this about?" And of course, they're not saying anything on the news. They're just blabbing and speculating. Howdy, Lynn. And talk to my mom and finally get her to answer, right? And she says, basically what happened up to then, and filled me in more than the news people were. And I remember so distinctly, she said, and she later denied this, years later when I brought this up, she said, "I never said any such thing." But she said, "I think those Republicans let this happen so that they can seize more power." And then when I asked her about it years later, she was like, "I never said that." I would never say anything like that. She probably thought she was wired. I don't know. Excuse me. Anyways, well, that was kind of a shocker, right? And that day was scheduled for ground school. I believe the ground school on Tuesdays was for commercial pilot. And right as the day wore on, just watching the news and talking to some people, and of course everybody's basically asking, well, what's going on? Well, nobody really knew. And so, of course, by the time the afternoon came around, all the buildings had collapsed. Even the one that was mysteriously not hit by an aircraft. Right? Everybody just took it, oh, it must have been so damaged from the other buildings collapsing. And so I jump on the motorcycle. It's time for class and head out to the airport. And they said we were still having class. So we get into class and we didn't do anything except discuss what was going on. At that point, we knew we were grounded. There would be no flight training indefinitely. Right? No limit on it. There was no air travel anywhere doing anything. Everything was grounded. At the time, excuse me, at the time, too, I was dating a woman who had gone to Europe on one of those Rick Steves, right? Rick Steves Europe. One of those Rick Steves organized trips over there. And I emailed her, right? Wow, email back then. Yeah, so I emailed her and I said, all I just said was, are you okay over there? And she emailed me back when she was able to access her email. And she said, yeah, we're fine. We're safe. We don't have any idea what's going on because nobody speaks the language. But from just looking at the pictures on the newspapers, it looks bad what's going on. And this may have been the next day that I told her. And it was interesting. Anyways, that, class that evening was just speculation. And nobody really had an idea of what was going to happen. It was unprecedented that this was happening. It was unprecedented that they had grounded every single aircraft in the United States of America. Every single one. Didn't matter what it was. If it went up after they said it was grounded, it was going to be brought down. And that was pretty much it. And you all know how it unfolded after that. Prior to this, I had been a diehard libertarian, right? Not registered with the Libertarian Party, but I could see the corruption of the Democrats and the Republicans. That NAFTA was a big wake up. The ignorance that's still behind NAFTA amazes me. It was written under Ronald Reagan, and it was signed by George H.W. Bush. But his signature expired before Congress passed it. And that's the whole reason that conservatives now blame Clinton for signing NAFTA. That George H.W. Bush was president when the Waco standoff began. They had an arrest warrant for one person and killed like 83 men, women, and children. The federal government did under Clinton, right? So started under the Republican, ended under a Democrat. And America was okay with that. America was just fine with that. Why? I mean, if you lived in a house and they had an arrest warrant for one person, and they killed the people in 45 other houses, why would that be acceptable? Howdy, Hope. Glad to see you, Hope. Then I was working for the old lady, right? Take care of her and then drive her out to her ranch to see her horses twice a day. And I had gotten permission to take her down to the protests because the Waco hearings had happened, and it was apparent that the government murdered all those people, and we wanted people to hang. And it wasn't black versus white or Anglos versus Hispanic. Anywhere you went, if you went into a convenience mart to get chocolate milk, the landscapers would be talking to the people in business suits. Our government is a travesty. And nationwide, we were prepared to take our government back. And on the day that we were going to go down to the protests, I had gotten permission to take the old lady down there. She wanted to go. That's when they blew up the Oklahoma City Federal building, the Murrah building. And watching it live on television. Police, you can still find the videos now. You can still find the videos of police and firefighters making the crowd move away from the building. We found more bombs inside. Oops. They weren't planning on that. There was about half the bombs didn't go off. They intended to level that building. And par for the course, right? If there's a D in office and you're preaching about the oversteps of the federal government, then everybody calls you a far-right extremist. But if you keep that up after the R takes over, then you're a left-wing radical. No, I want accountability in our government. So that's why I was libertarian. That's why I was a libertarian. And what happened? Well, the official story is that 19 hijackers, right? The 20th one had been caught. 19 hijackers took over 4 airliners. 15 of those 19 hijackers were Saudi Arabian. Before we were allowed to start our flight training again, in fact, I think it was the next day, private jets, or at least one, hauling the bin Laden family members that were in the United States, were allowed to fly away from the USA. That's interesting. Before we were allowed to resume flight training with our single engine trainer planes and twin engine trainer planes, all of them were propeller powered. Piston engine, propeller powered. They allowed all the airliners to relocate to their bases and resume regular operations. We weren't allowed to start flying for like 3 weeks after that. 3 weeks. You know, because just anybody in any type of airplane can do that. But then, boy, did that scam just grew and grew and grew. Right? They said, oh, well, the buildings were designed incorrectly, even though they were designed to take a direct hit from a fully fueled Boeing 707 and withstand that hit. Okay, so the buildings were built incorrectly. Where's the investigation into that? Where's the investigation into the faulty materials? Where is the new standards? Where are the new standards for building skyscrapers correctly? None of that. None of that came out. Howdy, Landon. None of that came out. You know, and then the evidence built up over the years. I don't know if it's still available, but you can find a website called Steel Doesn't Burn. Did you know that there's been, excuse me, that was delicious. Anyways, there's a website called Steel Doesn't Burn. And did you know that there has been multiple high-rise skyscrapers that have caught on fire? Fire much hotter and much worse and much longer lasting than what happened in New York City that day. And every single one of them stood because steel is designed for that, for taking that type of punishment. The one that really hit me the hardest was a Spanish hotel, like 40 stories tall, and like an 8-inch gas line burst, right? Natural gas. And it burned for like 24 or 48 hours, I forget, a long time. And the building twisted, but it didn't fall. And it certainly didn't turn to dust and collapse in its own footprint. And then they started the cheerleading, right? Let's get everybody to join the military. We're gonna teach those Saudis a lesson. Oh wait, we're kind of good friends with them. You know what? Let's invade Iraq. We got some unfinished family business over there. all those Iraqis, right? All those Iraqis killed because you had that liar Jordan who writes for the Atlantic, and he's still putting out tripe now. Talk about all the horrid things happening in Iraq, and we needed to invade them. And remember General Colin Powell? Colin got the colon part right. Holding up cartoons in front of Congress, animations. This is what the hidden weapons of mass destruction look like. Let's go invade. I'm not saying Hussein didn't need to be taken out as a dictator, but we didn't need to send our young men over there to lose life and limb. Right? What about Afghanistan? Another case of the beast propping people up to fight our enemies and then going in to fight the people we propped up. I say we, collectively as a nation, people. So after that, within 6 months of that, I had gone from having financial institutions that loan students money throw money at me to being trained for a job market where they just laid off 87,000 people. And it was just in time for me to need to borrow about $50,000 for multi-engine training. Well, the people that had been throwing money at me said, well, you don't have a job now, and you don't have a future potential job. So I looked and looked and looked and looked and looked. While this was going on, I met the wonderful woman that would become my wife. And I really started thinking, maybe I should look at an alternative life path. And she fully supported whatever. At this time, I had quit being a corrections officer, and she forbade me to go back to corrections. After a friend got called in because they stabbed an officer. Not laughing at that, just laughing at how that went down. Anyways, her saying no, that is. So, within a year, we got married. Under a year. And after we got married, still couldn't find a job. My gosh, I had so many interviews. Literally hundreds of resumes sent out. And I don't know how many interviews. But just didn't happen. So started the first of two successful businesses, the first one being landscaping. And stayed with that until I injured my back. And I decided I don't want to rely on other people if they're not going to step up when I need some time off to recuperate. And then worked a series of odd jobs after that. Come around 2004, they started hiring pilots back. I thought, well, you know what? Maybe I should just go ahead and finish my training. So, started looking into that. Nobody still wanted to loan me money, so it would have to be paid for out of pocket. But then there was some sort of gas crunch happened or something. And after they had hired back about 15,000 pilots, they laid off another 90,000. Okay, I might as well go work at the mines in Arizona if I'm going to be hired and laid off. So that is why I stopped pursuing professional flight training. And here we are. All those early years of the 90s and 2000s, even the early teens, trying to get people to wake up and see the lies around them of this beast system that is in control. And we're finally there where people are waking up. And I have people that just expect me to do backflips and stuff and say, when their eyes are opened up to what's going on, and say, dude, look at all this corruption and evil around us. Yeah, I remember. I've been talking about that a long time. And remember when I was talking about that? That's the fun one, if they've known me a long time. Yes, remember when I was talking about that back in 2000, 2003, and 2005? That's the expression they give you. Oh, okay. So, anyways, that's what happened. That is what happened then. And you may have noticed I'm not riding that bicycle anymore. Okay. But I still have that wonderful wife. Yep. And she's awesome. She should be home at some point in the near future, which will be cool. But instead of a regretful thing, I'm very grateful that I went on this walk, and if you've seen my testimony, it's another thing that would have drawn me away from the Father if I was working for a major airline and making a vulgar sum of money to monitor an autopilot somewhere. No, you'd better do a cleanse. Actually, I had a pretty good cleanse this morning, if you know what I mean. Anyways, so that, am I nostalgic about it? No. It's funny because the sky is just appears to be completely overcast, but the weather says it's sunny. So is that smoke from California? Someone flicked their cigarette out the car window into a marijuana field. Arizona's getting all of it, man. Yep. Very interesting. Yeah, you know what else is funny too? That 9/11, right? That gave us the Transportation Security Administration. It also gave us the Department of Homeland Security. At the time that they passed that, I was working in a machine shop when they passed Homeland Security, that is, because I did finally get a job by people I know, not through applications and interviews. Anyways, I was working with these two guys from Russia and Ukraine that used to live in the Soviet Union. And I had heard that KGB meant Department of Homeland Security. So I asked them, I was like, what does the KGB stand for? And they say the Russian. But what does that mean? And they're all, Homeland Security Department. So it checks out. KGB. And what else happened? There's something else too going on with that. Oh, the Transportation Security Administration, right? Take off your shoes, prepare for a pat down. You're going to get scanned with the wand. In the other side of the airport, right? The general aviation side, I still have my gate code. Tunt, 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 tunt. Walk right in, jump in my airplane. That is what everybody did. Howdy, Ren. But everybody, the scam of them saying, oh, we're secure now because you have to take your shoes off. Yeah, okay. Don't believe them. Look at that. Okay. Yeah. What else? Seriously, it's just amazing. You know, you can contrast the fact that they tightened down these restrictions on smaller planes and stuff. You remember that poor teenager that thought he was helping out Al Qaeda or something, Islam, I don't know, that flew his Cessna 172 into a office building in Florida. Right? It goes like, yeah. Big threat there. It's kind of like when Sideshow Bob crashes the Wright Flyer into that shack trying to kill Krusty the Clown. Bounces off and goes in reverse. Yeah, that's one of them things. So, anyways, yeah, it's not clear, but I am doing laundry. So, thanks for hanging out and listening to my ramblings. And don't forget, as Matt says, like, share, subscribe. Tomorrow, we will be reading for Sabbath. And we are finishing 2 Kings and going into Chronicles. And we will get some more detail for a lot of the events that happened. And when we close out 2 Chronicles, we need to kind of hustle through it, hopefully, because it's pertinent to things that are happening now. Anyways, I'll see you tomorrow. I love you all, and we'll talk to you soon.